Well, Rob, we had a nice improvement on markets yesterday. Our market's still lagging the gains that we saw on Wall Street last night. 1% was the gain on the Dow Jones. Though we have our markets a little bit under pressure today, down by about 0.5%, and it looks like globally things turning around again.
Yes, definitely. I think that we had a very strong Dow and S&P day yesterday. We had good earnings from Walmart and Home Depot. But looking forward on those earnings and looking deeper into those earnings going forward, they didn't think that they could maintain the numbers that they made in the first half of the year. I think so that fed back into our market and into the European markets today. So people taking a bit of profit from yesterday's moves. And then obviously on the resource side, we see that Billiton really pushing down our whole market as it starts its hostile takeover bid.
Just looking at that bid, of course, we have some of the other resources counters doing pretty well. We've got Anglo-American outperforming Billiton at least today. Billiton, as you said, under pressure again. It fell yesterday quite sharply. How's the market viewing this bid for potash?
Obviously, if they take a hostile bid for potash, it will probably use a bit more cash resources than a normal bid would have done. So the market is seeing that they might have to overpay for this for potash, and it is something that's different to their business in general, Billiton. So obviously, as a general miner, they do have a little bit of potash and they do have a fertilizer business in Canada, but not to the same degree as this acquisition. So moving away from mining a little bit and diversifying into the potash, quite an interesting move for them. So and a very expensive move at the price they're willing to pay at about $40 million. So people moving out of Billiton currently and moving back into Anglos, and it looks like there's a slight switch in the market currently as people move out of those Billiton positions and into Anglos.
Now, of course, really after BHP Billiton's failed bid for Rio Tinto a couple of years back, they're not going to want to see this one failing as well. But I mean, they're really starting from a disadvantaged point, with Potash saying that it's grossly inadequate.
Definitely, I think they are very good at finding assets that are undervalued. They've done very good acquisitions in Australia before. I think they got lucky with getting away with not having to purchase Rio Tinto. But obviously looking at the numbers from potash, they feel that food production in the future is going to be something that's very lucrative. They say that by 2050 the population in the world will be 9.5 billion, and to produce that amount of food you're going to have that amount of fertilizers needed. So the forward valuations of potash are very high, and they're saying that Billiton's underpaying for that. And Billiton obviously looking at a time where they can try to get into this industry quite early. So interesting tussle between the two, and we'll see who wins.
We also had a bit of economic data out of the United States last night. We had industrial production growth of 1% last month, better than the 0.5% that was expected. New housing starts a bit disappointing though. So this data is still coming through mixed, isn't it, Rob?
Yes, you know, you get one good number, one poor number, both remembering that they're coming off very low levels. And I think really the source of these inconsistencies is that there's just so much high unemployment. And you know, I think that if you start to see the unemployment come down and employment increase, you start to see more cohesiveness in the numbers, and they'll be more consistent. Until you can start to get that unemployment down, you're going to have these inconsistencies because you just cannot get traction in the market.
And of course, we have weekly jobless claims coming out tomorrow, and of course last week's were slightly disappointing. Do you think that once we start to see employment picking up in the US, the markets can break out of the ranges where they have been stuck for the time being?
Yes, I think that if they can, it shows you that the numbers that are coming out from the businesses and the earnings coming out from businesses in America means that they're taking those very good earnings and then they're starting to incorporate new staff as well, and start to hire in new staff. And if they hire new staff, the production's going to start to move. And the production numbers, they're only at about 74%. Can go all the way up to about, the mean is 80%. So there's a lot of industrial production that can still happen in the States, and to get that happening they have to employ people. So if the employment does start to increase, we'll be able to break out of this flat trend that we've been trading through.
Of course, big news here yesterday was really the moratorium on new prospecting licenses announced by the Mines Minister, Susan Shabangu. What sort of reaction did we see from the market to that? I know that some shares like Lonmin moved up strongly yesterday, up by 4%. It's up again today. And of course, that's because she said that she is still considering its objections to the prospecting license that was put out to Keisha. How about the overall mining sector, though? How's that responded?
I think everybody's happy that they've stopped just issuing licenses out until just willy-nilly at the moment is what they have been doing, and they're going to be take a look at how they're issuing out these licenses. I think it's very problematic for South Africa. You need to get foreign direct investment coming in at a consistent level, and not someone putting in money and then something goes wrong, they take it out again and people wait and see. To get the South African manufacturing up and running and to get the economy running, we need consistent foreign direct investment. So it is impacting how much foreign direct investment we're getting. The rand though hasn't really responded negatively to that at all. Still trading very strong at 7.25, and even the strike that we're having with a million employees strike at the moment, the rand has still stayed firm. So there is still some money coming into the bonds in South Africa.
So do you think the fact that the Minister has stepped in, that she is taking some action here, should be viewed as positively for the sector?
Definitely. I think we have to obviously the outcomes of what she does, but I think it is positive that they've taken a step to halt the mining licenses and take a view and see. There seems to be a loophole in the law on how if you apply for a gold license and you pull gold out of the ground, and if there's any other metal there, you can't sell it. And I think there's a loophole there, and they're going to have to fix that law and get some consistency in the mining rights.
Rob, retail sales numbers out just a short while ago, 7.4% growth for June. So really more or less in line with expectations. I think the Reuters consensus was for 7.6%, but we were expecting a strong month for June, weren't we?
Yes, no, it's a good number. It's slightly less than what people were expecting, but 7.4 is quite solid. Obviously, it was the start of the World Cup, and we saw a lot of foreigners coming into South Africa. So we'd like to see this sustain into the July numbers, and then the real crux would we see in the August numbers. Will it still flow through, or is it just coming through from the amount of people that came from the World Cup? But at least it was a positive number, and let's see if we can maintain that going forward.